inhabited the Greater Melbourne area before the British settled here in the 18th century. Now I'm going to attempt to interpret the traditions metaphysically in the manner of unity and new thought. I don't know just how any of our First Peoples might react to my interpretation, but I intend not to abuse their tradition. To understand my interest in Indigenous traditions, I'd like to just take a moment to talk about where I come from. My great-great-grandfather migrated to New Zealand from England with his family in 1857. He and his forebears had been involved in the timber industry for generations in and around the south of England. Naturally, my great-grandfather, aged 9 months when they migrated, eventually followed the tradition. As he travelled through the North Island, cutting down forests and building homes, shops, pubs and churches, he always negotiated with the Maori chiefs in their language, which he had learned. When I migrated to Australia over 50 years ago, I had been learning the Maori language for just 1 year. Then I was offered a job over here and I came to it. I'd already learned a lot about Maori culture while in primary school. Once settled here, I attempted to find some way to learn the Aboriginal language, only to find that there was no one Aboriginal language, but hundreds of them, and none seemed to be taught anywhere in Melbourne. And since then, I've sought to learn as much as I can about Australia's Indigenous peoples to honour the traditional owners of the land I live on. Australia was definitely not terra nullius when the British ships arrived, nor was it even monocultural. There was a plethora of cultures and languages throughout this island continent. In 2010, during the Parliament of the World's Religions in Melbourne, we were pleased to welcome Jeremy Donovan to the sanctuary. He is now a highly respected elder of the Kuku-Yalanji people in Unplanned. He was a member of a New Thought movement that was happening in Queensland at the time. And I asked him what attracted him to New Thought. Uncle Jeremy's reply was that New Thought was close to Aboriginal spirituality. It's something for us to think about. And we can understand something of this from this little description of the dream time given by Auntie Munya.
It's a really difficult thing to answer because dreaming is a really big thing for Aboriginal people. In fact, it takes a lifetime to learn. Some people say that the term dream time is not a correct translation of traditional terms like lalai, knitting or jukuba. But I love the term dream time because it conjures up a magical, mysterious time. In Aboriginal culture, you will find that people, when they speak about these sacred matters or sacred beings, they begin to whisper because it's a way of paying respect. There's also the idea that God is unknowable, beyond words and human understanding. This is why the Wandjina paintings are painted with no mouths, because God is beyond our understanding.
So in this talk, I'm going to build some ideas around the two main Wurundjeri totems, Buniil and Waa. Buniil is the creator god of the Kulin nation, which is a group of 5 indigenous peoples around most of Victoria. The stories told about Buniil say that he originally lived on Earth that he created, on the Earth that he created, but later decided to reside in the heavens as a star watching over the land. Buniil first created the world and all its plant and animal life. Then he decided to create people. You can see some parallels with Genesis here. He collected a large mass of clay and split it into 2 piles. Buniil shaped the clay into 2 human forms, adding long strands of gum tree bark for their hair. He then brought them to life by blowing air into their noses, mouths, and navels. Now, Buniil is often depicted as a wedge-tailed eagle hawk who uses his form to fly high above the earth and keep watch over the people and the land. Traditionally, the people of the Kulin nation believe that Buniil will provide guidance to those who are willing to ask for it and listen. The Peninsula Specialists School has produced this song in praise of Buniil, our creator. There's a slight divergence, but we'll come back to Buniil shortly, that the power this month, the divine gift given to us that we focus on in unity this month is the gift of imagination. George Bernard Shaw once wrote, "Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, you will what you imagine, and lastly, you create what you will." Thus, all creation begins with imagination. To create something new, we must first imagine it. I keep thinking of the generations and generations of Indigenous peoples imagine, creating from their imaginings these wonderful stories that help carry on their knowledge. How did Buniil himself come to imagine the possibility of the world he created? No answer, of course, but something to dwell on. He existed before the dream time, according to the ancient stories. He dreamed a dream of times to come. He dreamed of things that never were. Then he applied the fifth unity principle. He got his hands dirty, formed a plan, and acted. The unity teachings define imagination as the ability to image, to picture, to conceptualize, to envisage, and to dream. The divine gift of imagination gives us the ability to release limiting thoughts and imagine something greater. In her book, Your Divine Potential, Unity Minister Winifred Hausman, in discussing the 12 principles, or 12 powers or gifts, and she wrote, "In order to change conditions in our mind, body, and affairs, we must first transform the pictures we are holding in mind. If we don't like the conditions we are attracting, we can change them by building new images with the eye of the mind, our faculty of imagination." And she adds further that we can use imagination to represent possibilities other than the actual. We can use imagination to represent times other than the present. And we can use our imagination to represent perspectives other than our own. By learning to make the right use of this important faculty and making sure it is continuously guided and directed by the Christ or God self of our being, we can develop an imagination that will not only serve us well, but will also provide tremendous support in developing our other God-given powers. But the American author Meg Rossoff has warned us the imagination can be dangerous. It can change the world. I can go on flights of the imagination. It is that idea that just flashed into my imagination, a wise one. Wild, unbridled imagination might produce outcomes we don't want. Maybe it can lead us into dark places. Maybe we can overstretch ourselves. My mother once told me that I had long fingers, and so would be a great concert pianist. This was her dream, her ambition for me. But we never owned a piano, so I never learned to play. Now, in my 82nd year, should I attempt to fulfil my late mother's dream? I don't think so. Is it a good idea for me to don a red cape and jump off the top of the Empire State Building? Two gangs are fighting with machetes and other weapons. Would it be a good idea for me to step between them and end the war? Do I really want to rule the world? I sometimes think I might make it a better place. But the power, the gift of one of the 12 gifts that gives us the power to evaluate is the gift of wisdom. Gives us the power to evaluate, discern and apply what we know. This is the power we need to avoid the pitfalls of wild imagination. The centre that is associated with the faculty of wisdom is located in the pit of the stomach. Many years ago, a work colleague of mine used to say that if something was not quite right, he felt an itch around his gut. One day his gut was really itchy. He had contracted shingles, it turned out. That was the time when management consultants had been contracted to advise the Board of Management on restructuring the company. And needless to say, the changes that ensued were not all good. So what does your gut tell you? What does your centre of wisdom tell you? Something to ask whenever you get a bright idea. In the Wurundjeri tradition, Waa the crow represents the spirit of protection. If something bad is about to happen, Waa will warn you. Something that a concept that Auntie Joy introduced me to many years ago. Waa is specifically the protector of rivers. Crows, along with their relatives, I found out on checking them out on Wikipedia and elsewhere. Ravens and magpies, crows, are known to be the cleverest of birds. They're known to fashion tools in order to achieve various tasks and even use their right claw to communicate with others. They have also been reported to be the only bird that has confidence to attack an eagle. So the crow wisdom is perhaps the way to keep our eagle of imagination in check. If Buniil leads you down a dangerous path in your wild imaginations, then Waa can take control and guide you to better choices. In our meditation this morning, we envisaged the deep spring of wisdom within us. As a bubbling spring becomes a steady stream, the river leading into the ocean of all that is, we can imagine the spirit of Waa guiding and protecting its way. So, summarising that, when Buniil, the creative spirit, inspires us to imagine greater things, we're talking about our inner Buniil, and our inner Waa is there to ensure that our choices are wise. Whenever Buniil leads us in a wild flight of imagination, we can call on Waa to take control and lead us on the desired path. Whenever we have a great idea, we can always check that it's okay by taking a few moments in the silence to connect with our inner spring of wisdom, where Waa lives. As introduced to talk, this is National Reconciliation Week, And the theme for this year is Bridging Now to Next. It calls on us to build strong, respectful relationships that honour the truths of the past while paving the way forward. Reconciliation is everyone's responsibility. Each of us has a role to play in bridging the gap between where we are today and the inclusive, respectful future we all envisage. For two people to reconcile their differences, we must attempt to see the issues from the perspective of the other. As Wilfred Houseman suggested, we can use our divine gift of imagination to represent perspectives other than our own, to enable us to stand in another's shoes. So as you listen to this next song, let your imagination soar like an eagle and see the world from the perspective of Australia's First Nations people. A step towards understanding and building a new world, a world of peace and justice for all. Let your internal Waa spirit guide you along your stream of wisdom, so that you may find ways to understand the views of our Indigenous brothers and sisters. And next song that I'm about to play is the official anthem chosen for this year's Reconciliation Week. It was originally performed by 1980s rock group Goanna. In Queensland earlier this year, a project was developed where they invited people of all ages, Indigenous or non-Indigenous, to gather at the Beagleby wetlands to join a community performance of the song. Here it is. So thank you and find peace.